Hey, what's up, my friends? Much love. Right now, it's nice and dark and early. We're driving through the city. We got about an hour and a half drive, and we're headed up into the desert, into the canyons, to go and locate a ruins that I stumbled upon back in early 2024. I stumbled upon this site up in the cliffs, up in a cave, when I was looking for a different site, and it's been on my mind ever since. So today we're gonna go see if we could lay some eyes on it. It's about 30 degrees right now. It's still dark, and we're heading out. We're gonna go see what we can see. Wanted to bring you along with us. Looks like we lost a fuel line on our truck. That's gasoline dripping down. Truck just stalled out. And looks like right where our fuel filter is, we lost the line, so hopefully we can fix that. So that little ordeal set us back about 20 minutes, unfortunately. We were just cruising along, my friends, enjoying the drive, enjoying the beautiful morning and the scenery. And it just came to a halt. The truck quit. It was like we ran out of gas. I opened the door, and right away I could smell the gasoline. Crawled down under there, and sure enough, we had a fuel line come off where it connects to the fuel filter. And I popped it back on there. Right away it popped off again. And as I was laying there trying to figure out what to do, the game and fish warden stopped to check on us, so I appreciated that. He was a nice guy. Anyway, we were able to just, I ended up just tying a rag around that line, pulling it tight against the filter, and using some vice grips to kind of put a temporary fix on it. But we're not going to let that ruin our trip. We're not going to abort our mission, so we're continuing on down the bumpy road. So we're out here, my friends. We made it. And it's a beautiful day. Besides smelling a little bit like gasoline, we're doing good. It's a beautiful day. So we're up on top of the mesas, hiking across these flats towards the rim of this canyon. And it was March 2024 when I was up here. I was looking for a particular cliff dwelling, and I stumbled upon this one, which wasn't even on our radar, and I'm not even sure archaeology knows about this one. It's kind of pretty well hidden cave dwelling up in the cliffs. So we got to hike down towards the rim and see if we can locate it. I wanted to try to rappel into it, but I don't think it would work because it's just simply overhanging too much. So we're going to try to find a break in the cliff wall and see if we can't get into the canyon from up here and maybe try to get to it from the bottom. But it's going to be interesting nevertheless. See, right now it's just sage flats, and we're hiking down there towards the rim of this canyon. Can't even see it from here, and it'll just come out of nowhere. But it's finally warming up. I think we're in the 40s about right now. So here you can see we made it to the rim of this awesome canyon. Just a cut in the earth in the middle of these flats. Just fantastic. I love it. See, we got some pine trees across the canyon there. So what we got to do is we got to go around. We got to go around this rim and get to the other side. One thing that surprised me is that I know there's a few aspen trees down in the bottom of this canyon, which is kind of something you don't see in this region, is aspen trees. But there's definitely some cottonwoods down there. See, we made it to this point overlooking the bottom of the canyon. Back over there is where all the water dumps into this canyon, at least the majority of it. And what we're actually looking for, I believe, is just behind this point. So to see it, we got to get over here. Certainly some big cliffs out here. I'd say it's at least 300 feet to the bottom. Down in there, it looks like there's some water. There's a few places like that back here where you got these pretty large potholes that collect many gallons of water. I know of one in the next canyon over where it's so deep you can drown in it. Looks like it's dry right now, but last year this was full of water. And directly across from it, up on the cliffs, you can see there's that cave. But if you look close, there's actually a ladder that's leading up into that thing. And so what we wanted to do, just to the right of that, right over here, there's a little bit of a break in the cliff. I think we might be able to get down through there. If not, I think we could probably get down over there beneath that pine tree and come down through the bottom. And I wanted to see if we could get down there on that shelf and perhaps maybe get a closer look at it from the bottom there. So that's where we're headed. Of course, we got to go around the rim of this canyon and get to the other side. So we made it to the end of the canyon right here where you can see the water drops down into this canyon. It's probably about 50 feet down to that ledge right there. And then it drops off probably another 50 down into the bottom of the canyon right there. At least from this low spot right here. And where we got to get to, you could see it way over there. That cave right there. That's where we're headed. But that is a fantastic drop right there, my friends. It's just huge cliff. You break over that edge, and it's way down there. Up here on the mesa top, there's some pottery. I found that, I almost walked right past it. So I believe we're right above it. Look over this edge. It's right underneath us. If you look down, you can see that old ladder. It's interesting, my friends. You can see a whole bunch of other lumbers too. So yeah, it's just down beneath us, and just to the left over here, I think we might have a break in the cliff where we might be able to get down. Right here, I think we can get down. I think we could climb down these cracks, down these boulders, down to the bottom down there. I think we could be able to do it. If not, I think there's another break just over there. But I think we'll try this. I'm just not sure if Skylo could do it. Some good footholds and handholds, so that's good. It's almost like that was placed there as a ladder. We're gonna use it to our advantage anyway. Let's see if Skylo can get down without any help. Can you make it, buddy? You gonna be able to make it? Oh, he made it. That's a good boy. You made it, didn't you? He's crazy, man. He can make it up and down these cliffs like nothing. We just came down and pretty much landed right where we need to. So as you can see, there's this old, looks like 2x6s with some old steps built onto them going up into this cave dwelling up in the cliff. If you look close, you can see some masonry wall there with the lumber above it and in it down below. So I'm not sure how deep that goes, but hopefully we can get up in there somehow. But I'm looking at it and it's gonna be pretty sketchy. I don't think we could trust this piece of wood. It's just too old. There ain't no telling how long ago that was put there. Definitely a long time ago. I'd say well over 20 years for sure. But it looks like someone was making the attempt to get up in here before. I wonder if they made it. But might be able to get up on top of this. And there's a couple holds there. Maybe with some assistance here we could make it happen, but I'm not too hopeful. But as we come down here, you see there's some old lumber right here. That's had to have fallen down from this dwelling. Oh wow. Have a look at this. You see that? Wow. You could see where they were grinding corn or seeds, or they were grinding something. Looks like you got 1, 2, 3 little channels there where they were grinding. Perhaps they had a pot or a basket down here to kind of catch it. And it looks like there's some more right there. It would have made a good grinding spot and a little channel here to sweep it into your pot or your basket. Wow. That's quite obvious what was going on there, isn't it? That's just fantastic. And then right here on top of this rock I'm kneeling on, right here, again, obvious spot where some grinding was going on. That is just awesome. So if we stand up on this point, might be some petroglyphs along these walls. I didn't really get a good look from the other side. So earlier, that's where we were standing. So right here's our grinding stone, and right here, and just down on the ground from that, check this out. There's some pottery, old busted pot, and there's another piece right here. It's kind of darker, like it was burned or used on a fire. looks like it's kind of spread out through here. Oh wow. Almost stepped right on it, but check that out. Wow, yeah, that's like a part of an arrowhead, or pretty decent one anyway. You see that? You can see the obvious places on the edge where this thing was worked. That is fantastic. I don't know if it looks like chert and feels like chert, but that little right there almost makes it look like a piece of petrified wood or something. Well, that's definitely a point of some kind. That is just awesome. Here's another piece of pottery right next to it. More right here. This one's really thin. Oh wow, yeah, here's like the bottom of a cup or something. Right here. That definitely looks like it was probably the bottom of a cup or a small bowl. That is awesome. It's just leaning up against that rock right there. And see if we could see anything else. It looks like there's been some kind of animal perching up in there. Maybe a bobcat, mountain lion, a fox. It's kind of hard to say. See if I can get a good visual on a track. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. There was something up in here. What you doing, buddy? You finding your way through here? What was there? Tell me what it was. What was... You smell it? What was sitting there? You good boy. That cliff climbing dog. There's probably artifacts just scattered all down this side of this hill, I imagine. Let's walk this way a little bit and see if we could see anything else. There's some type of carving right here. OM, MM, 825, 61. I'll bet you that's who brought that piece of wood back in the 60s. It seems like it would be that old. Wow, look at this one. Estacio Espinosa, November 26, AD 1906, Blanco, New Mexico. Looks like they tried to draw something there, a turkey or a bird or something. Wow, yeah, that's what, 119 years ago to the month? Something like that. It's a long time ago, my friends. The silence of this canyon is just awesome. It's so quiet back here. You don't even hear a bird chirp or nothing. A little narrow. Walking on this grass. Kind of sketchy. Pretty good tumble right there. If you tumbled. I don't really see anything. Well, we're gonna go back, have a little water, take a little break, and see if there's any way to climb up onto this dwelling, onto the shelf, and then maybe we'll explore a little more or go back the other way. This is something I've been wanting to see ever since the moment I seen it back in March 2024. Because I knew this was a unique dwelling. It's just awesome up in this cave. I'm hoping we can get a closer look. We'll see here in a minute, but right now we're gonna have a little bit of water. Take a little bit of a break. And then we'll go from there. Hey, buddy. There's a good spot for you to drink right there. So I can tell that archaeology's never been here because there's no tree ring samples taken from any of this wood back here. It's kind of hard to say about up in the dwelling. We'd have to get up in there to look. But as far as the wood that I see laying around down here in the bottom, doesn't appear like anybody's been here as far as archaeology. So this specific canyon, the farther you go down the flow towards the main canyon, so in other words, the way that the water goes, the farther you get down there, there's definitely some more ruins. There's a lot of petroglyphs, especially down towards the bottom. There's both Anasazi, ancestral Puebloan, and Navajo, Apache, Pueblo petroglyphs. So the thing with many of these sites that we go to is it's hard to say exactly who built them. But from the dating of most of these sites, what we can tell is that they're from the 16 and 1700s. Many of them were definitely involved with the Navajo people. Different studies have been concluded over the years from the early 1900s through the 20s, the 50s. Different people have pursued more information and knowledge when it comes to who built these dwellings. And from the best that I've gathered and that I've read in a few books and stuff like that, it seems like the Pueblo, some of the Apache, and the Navajos got together after the Pueblo revolt and kind of formed a union back here, and were building these defensive structures first and foremost to protect themselves against raids from the Utes that were to the north. They occupied the northern portion of what is now southern Colorado, and this was kind of the Navajo homeland here. And as we know, after the Pueblo revolt, both Apache and Pueblo natives came up this direction, in preparation for war against the Spanish and things like that. So it's kind of hard to say exactly who built these structures and who was living up in this cliff. As far as the Anasazi go, the ancestrals, it's kind of hard to say. Haven't seen a lot of evidence of structures, at least in this canyon, in this surrounding area where they occupied. It seems to be farther to the west where they were occupying, but there's definitely signs of Anasazi, ancestral Puebloan petroglyphs throughout some of these canyons. You can tell that they're certainly of the Anasazi nature and definitely older than what we know is the Navajo, Pueblo, Apache petroglyphs, rock art. So perhaps we'll do some reading out of a book that I got one of these days, and we'll conclude a few things, perhaps. Well, I'm open to different ideas when it comes to these things, but for the most part, most of these dwellings, one of the reasons we know that the Navajos were certainly involved is because of all the forked pole hogans. Forked pole hogans are kind of like teepees, kind of smaller, built with wood, kind of wood structures that are a lot of times on top of the mesas right where these cliff dwellings are, or surrounding the sites that are on top of boulders, things like that. But there's a few places where there's actually standing forked pole hogans. Maybe perhaps one of our next trips we can go to a spot where I know there's a standing forked pole hogan, and we can talk a little bit more about that. And that specific site that I mentioned was definitely one of the largest, probably more of a trading post at the time, 1700s. So there's just a few things that we know concerning this place. You want some jerky, Skylo? I'm gonna give you the biggest piece. How about it? Make sure you taste it. Don't just swallow it now. Good boy. That's a good boy. We got some jerky we got at the gas station this morning. Easy, buddy. You'll choke. You gotta chew it. Thank the Most Holy. There you go. Man, you gotta chew it. You get too excited. Here, let's have some more water. Here, look out. Go. Let's see what we got here. We have made it up, and it is so sketchy, my friends. Right here in front of me is this wall. I'm trying to figure out a way to get around it without touching it. There's also some bat waste right here I'm trying to keep my hands off of. Oh, okay, it looks like we're in. Wow. This is fantastic. Wow, we made it in here, my friends. Oh, let me just catch my breath. A lot of adrenaline right now. You can see Skylo down there with our bag. Right here, here's our lumbers that you could see from the bottom. And again, there's no tree ring samples taken out of these pieces of wood, so archaeology hasn't been here. If they have, they weren't able to get up in here. As we look around in here, my friends, you can see some markings on the wall there. Looks like they were just chipping away at that. I don't know what for. As we look, you can see we definitely got the whole black roof thing going on in here, the soot. So definitely some fires were being made in here. Looks like a lot of stone has fallen off of these roofs. As we kind of wander back, it's kind of hard to say where the fires were being built. It's probably buried up underneath this rock. The birds and the bats have certainly been in here. You can see this waste. And someone has been in here. I can see some scratches up in that soot. I can't make out what it says though. Right here there's a 1954 carving. Someone unfortunately carved their name, 1954. And as we come out, you can see this is a whole ledge right here. You can see all this old mortar from the wall that perhaps covered all of this once upon a time. Interesting. This is super interesting. Again, there's some more writings or something going on there. It's kind of hard to say what was going on there with these white markings. It might just be natural too, but someone definitely scratched something there. So we wander across this ledge. You know, again, there's not a lot to see, but I definitely wanted to get up here to see what was going on. A lot of mortar chunks laying around. There's probably definitely a lot of walls that are no longer standing. Probably going all along this ledge right here. Kind of where you could see these stones still standing. That was probably the base, the foundation of a wall that once stood. Again, there's a lot of stones in the bottom. But this is about as far back as it goes right here. Right here, this is the end of the line. That's fantastic though. It's really cool up here, my friends. See some pieces of mortar. That's mortar mud right there. Just awesome. So you can see the cave back over there on the other side. Unfortunately, anything that was probably up here was probably taken from visitors of the past. You know, anything that was probably remaining in here. Looks like they kind of used some mortar to kind of level out the floor up here. That's what that looks like to me. Again, you can see it over here where they kind of put this on top of the rock to make it kind of level. I don't want to walk on that, so I kind of step around it here. But that's definitely mortar. Wow. This is absolute. Yeah, you can see where this mortar was on a piece of wood. That's all that remains of the wall. But I bet you it's pretty fantastic when it was fully built. Well, I'll tell you what, my friends. That was definitely one of the sketchiest things, for sure. It's really not that high, maybe 15 feet, but it is just so sketchy because you don't want to put all your trust in this. You could just get up here and throw a leg onto it and just use your hands to pull yourself up. And then coming down is just so much worse. At least my favorite part about this whole thing is definitely this right here. I just think that's so awesome. And then of course, this one. And then right there too. A lot of this is mortar. There's a piece of mortar right there. And all these stones, it's just had to have been, you know, the wall that used to be standing up there. I'm sure back in the day when they were living in it, it was just a magnificent structure built up on that high ledge. We're gonna climb up out of here now. Come on, you've done this before. You've done stuff bigger than this. Come on. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Good boy. You got it. You got it. You big crazy guy. You crazy boy. You crazy boy. So not too far around the corner we have this petroglyph panel. And here you can see we got this kind of spiral. Could be some type of map. I know some people say that's migration. There's some kind of object there, but you can see that line comes off of that spiral, and it kind of squiggles, kind of goes up and down, up and down. It's almost like it's a map. And then as we come this way, you can see we get over here. Right there, there's some kind of faint animal. And this is where our line kind of comes to an end, and there's a man figure right there. So that's kind of interesting. As we take a step back, you can see there's we got some elk up here, up above that. There's some kind of maybe perhaps a scorpion or something like that up there. And then we got what maybe perhaps a mountain lion below that scorpion looking thing, or whatever that is. And then we got some more deer. I can't tell what this is. Got another man figure, a couple of them. Another spiral. There's some kind of strange object there with a long neck. And many of these bird-looking objects here. Perhaps those are birds. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. About 16 of those. And as we look right here, there's something behind them. I don't know what that is. Perhaps a mountain lion. Another one, something below it here. And then we got a man figure here. And up here it looks like perhaps a family presented. So that's pretty much what makes up most of this wall here. As you can see, it's pretty fantastic though.